Welcome back, guys. So, in this video, we are going to cover two concepts that we covered in our episode 3 of Stats Masterclass. But apparently, what I realized is that these two concepts need a separate video. So, in this, we are going to understand p value and confidence interval in a way that you're never going to get confused by them anymore. So, let's start. Firstly, let's cover p value. Forget the definition, forget everything else, forget what the textbooks say. Just imagine this scenario that I'm going to say. Sorry. Let's say you have a friend and let's call him Shyam, the classic case. So Shyam hands you a coin and says, "This is a perfectly normal, fair coin." This state, Shyam hands you a coin and says that this is a perfectly normal, fair coin. So the statement that the coin is boring and normal. This is what you call null hypothesis. This is what null hypothesis is. Null hypothesis means nothing interesting is happening. Null hypothesis means nothing interesting is happening. Alternate obviously means something interesting is happening. Okay. So now Shyam hands you a coin and says this is a perfectly normal fair coin. So you decide to test Shyam's claim. You flip the coin, flip one, heads. Okay. You say it happens 50% of the time. Flip two, heads. Flip one, you get heads. You say 50% of the time it happens. Flip two, you get a heads. You say it will get 25% probability कि दो flips में लगातार heads आ जाए. ठीक है. Flip three, you get a heads. You're like, okay. Three continuous flips and three continuous heads. The probability is less. Flip four, you get a heads. Flip five, you get a heads. You're like, okay. Now I've got five heads in a row. You start to doubt Shyam because the probability of this happening by pure luck, the probability of this happening by pure luck is about what? Close to 3%. So you're getting suspicious that this can't just be pure luck that I toss five coins and I get five hits. I toss the coin five times and I get five hits in a row. You keep on doing this and you get F6, F10, and all the times you get a head. So you get 10 heads in a row. That's when you become suspicious. Now you stop. You're shocked. You are thinking, there is no way this is happening by luck. There is no way this is happening by luck. So now you're ready to call Shyam a liar and say, no, this is not a fair coin. This is not a normal coin. And on what basis are you saying that? You're saying that on the basis of this shock. That luck se to you can't get 10 heads in a row, right? Luck say 10 heads in a row don't happen. The coin should be unfair. The coin is not fair. Shyam is lying. This shock, this surprise is what p-value is. This surprise or this shock, this feeling of shock or surprise is what p-value is. Okay. The golden definition that you guys know is p-value is the probability of seeing your result. P-value is the probability of seeing your result, which in our case is 10 heads in a row. Right? If the null hypothesis, which is Shyam is honest or slash coin is fair, is true. This is what p-value is. P-value is the probability of seeing your result, which in our case is 10 heads in a row, if the null hypothesis, which is nothing interesting is happening, which is the coin is fair, is true. This is what p-value is. So what a high p-value means? A high p-value means, let's say a p-value is 0.5. High p-value, let's say 0.5. Sorry. P-value of 0.5 in our case means it happens all the time. It happens all the time का मतलब क्या है? That a p-value of 0.5 means कि हाँ ठीक है. If the coin is fair, तो 10 heads in a row आते रहते हैं. But a low p-value means, let's say 0.001. This means that the probability of seeing my result, given the null hypothesis is true, is very less. Matlab the probability of me seeing my result, given the null hypothesis was true, is rare. होता रहता है ये वाला. So अगर अभी खुद से सोचो कि if p value is less, right? तो इसका मतलब ये है कि probability of me seeing my result if the null hypothesis was true is rare. तो इसका मतलब क्या है कि अगर null hypothesis true है तो ये result देखने की probability अगर rare है, इसका मतलब कुछ तो गड़बड़ चल रही है, right? इसका मतलब null hypothesis true तो नहीं है. The null hypothesis is probably not true, right? Recall, when you got 10 heads in a row, you were like, there is something suspicious. Shyam is lying. Shyam is lying. The coin isn't fair, right? So what you were doing when you got 10 heads in a row? You were rejecting the null hypothesis, which was coin is normal or Shyam isn't lying, right? And 10 heads in a row में क्या था? The probability of getting 10 heads in a row is so less, right? It's so less. When your probability of occurrence of an event is so less, what are you doing? You're rejecting null hypothesis, right? You're rejecting the fact that nothing is happening. Because now you're like, something must be happening. This is the concept of p-value. The threshold of rejecting null hypothesis is 0.05 or 5% or 5%. This means that if the p-value is lower than 0.05, we say this is too rare. Too rare to be luck. Something is going on. Something is going on. Something is fishy. So we reject the null hypothesis. If p-value less than 0.05, this is what we do. If p greater than 0.05, we don't reject the null hypothesis. Obviously, common sense. Threshold है. So this is the concept of p-value. P-value is simply a measure of evidence against the null hypothesis. Remember this. It's simply a measure of evidence against null hypothesis. The lower the p-value, the more ridiculous the null hypothesis looks. Which means the lower the p-value, the rare it is for that particular result to happen by luck. इसका मतलब something is happening. Okay. Okay. I hope p value is clear. And if p value is clear, now let's go to confidence interval, which is our safety net, as we call it. So the p value tells us if something is weird or not, but it doesn't tell us how weird it is. How weird के लिए we use confidence interval. Or something, p value tells us if something is weird or not, but how weird it is, इसके लिए we need confidence interval. नेट की बात हो रही है तो imagine you're trying to catch a fish. Okay. In a murky lake, let's say. You can't see the fish. Okay. Imagine the scenario. You're trying to catch a fish in a murky lake. You can't see the fish. In this case, what is fish? Fish is your truth. You can't see the truth, but you want to catch it. You can't see the truth, but you want to catch it. If I ask you exactly where is the fish? Exactly where is the fish? And you throw a spear at one tiny specific point. भाला फेंको, एकदम pointed भाला. You will probably miss, right? If you just throw a spear in a lake, guessing कि वो spear fish पे लगे, the probability of you catching the fish is very less than, right? Because इतना बड़ा lake है, उसमें एक भाले से उस आपको you are not able to see where the fish is. You don't know where the truth is. तो आप इतना easily catch ऐसे थोड़ी कर पाओगे एक भाले से, एक pointed उससे. Now, by the way, that is what you call point estimate, right? कि मैं एक lake में एक particular point पे भाला फेंक रहा हूँ, right? So this is what your point estimate is. It's precise. It gives you a point, but it can be wrong. The probability of you not catching the fish is high, right? So what do? Instead of that, you throw a net into the lake. You throw a net into the lake. You say, I don't know exactly where the fish is. I don't know exactly where the fish is. Okay. But I am 95% sure it is somewhere inside this net. It is somewhere inside this net. This is the most important thing. Remember, this is what your confidence interval is. Let's apply this to real life. Suppose you want to know the average salary of data scientists in India. You can't just go and ask everyone, right? So you ask 100 people, which is your sample. And let's say your sample average comes out to be 15,000. Let's say 15,000, 1.5 lakh. Okay. The problem is the real average of everyone this 1.5 lakh? Probably not exactly, right? So you calculate the confidence interval in this case. You might say, we are 95% confident that the true average salary is between 1,30,000 से 1,80,000. We are 95% confident that the true average salary of data scientists in India is between 1,30,000 से 1,80,000. This is what confidence interval is all about. What does 95% confident mean? It means if we went out and did this survey 100 different times, creating 100 different nets, 95 of those nets would catch the true average. 95% कॉन्फिडेंट का मतलब ये होता है कि आप 100 बार जाके ये सर्वे करो, तो आप 100 बार मछली पकड़ने जाओ, 100 बार मछली पकड़ने जाओ, राइट? 100 बार नेट फेंकोगे, उनमें से 95 बार मछली फंस जाएगी. That is what confidence interval means. You go and try to catch the fish 100 times. You throw the net 100 times. Out of those 100 times, 95 of the times you're going to catch the fish. That is what 95% confident means. Okay. This is what confidence interval is all about. Confidence interval gives you a range of plausible values. Narrow interval, we are very sure. Precision. Wide interval, we are not very sure. This is what confidence interval means. That's it. Okay. Now let's actually bring them mathematically together. Okay. P-value and confidence interval are best friends. P-value asks, is 0 inside your net? Confidence interval shows where is the effect. And I would say, mathematics wala part I'll cover in the next video, but I hope the fundamental concept of p-value and confidence interval is clear to you.